So for the past week, I decided to read every single Donald Trump personal finance book ever written by him. Something that you may not know about me is that I actually really enjoy reading books. It's one of my favorite hobbies that I acquired in the last 5 years. So I decided that today I wanted to share the personal finance advice that I learned from these books that could actually help you, and also the parts of the books that actually gave me cancer.
I went to an Ivy League school. I'm very highly educated. I know words, I have the best words, but there's no better word than stupid.
I'm going to go in order from best book to worst book of his, in my humble opinion. The first book that we have is called Why We Want You to Be Rich by Donald Trump and Robert Kiyosaki. So you may or may not have already seen or heard or read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, who is a personal finance author who invests in real estate. This book is probably one of the better ones out of all the Donald Trump books because it is co-written by Robert Kiyosaki, who is a personal finance author and investor. The Donald Trump segments in the book didn't really add a lot of value, in my opinion, which is a common theme that I found through all of these books. Basically, Robert Kiyosaki has this cash flow quadrant on how you can make your money, which I feel like I've seen in every single Robert Kiyosaki book he's ever written, but it basically has 4 sources of income, which are employee, business, self-employed, and investor. He talks about how if you're an employee or you're self-employed, it's not as good for becoming rich as becoming a business owner or an investor. He wants people to move away from being employees and self-employed people because they have tax disadvantages and work long hours, and he wants them to move into the cash flow quadrants of being business owners and investors. He answers the question, what should you invest in? In terms of what assets you should invest in, he talks about how he promotes investing in real estate and creating your own business because you have control. This can be compared to being an employee or being a shareholder inside stocks or mutual funds or paper assets because you do not have control over your time or your money or the income of the business. You can tell from this book that he really promotes real estate as the best investment vehicle compared to stocks, for example. He also talks about the conventional path of getting a good job and saving up your paychecks and reinvesting in mutual funds is not the most optimal path because it requires the least amount of financial education to learn how to do. Whereas he compares this to investing in real estate, which is not very easy to do, requires more financial education, and you can't just do on the click of a button. And he really thinks that is a much better investment than investing in stocks. A common theme that I noticed from this book is that it is all about expanding your means. Whereas a lot of finance YouTubers or finance people may talk about how you should cut down on your daily cups of coffee because it really adds up. He really believes that you should be enjoying your life, spending your money on things that you want to spend on, buying that daily cup of coffee by buying cash generating assets that can expand your means. Following along those lines, we have the next Donald Trump book, Midas Touch, Why Some Entrepreneurs Get Rich and Others Don't. They talk about the 7 intelligences, which are verbal, logical, body, spatial, musical, interpersonal, and intrapersonal intelligence. You may have one or more of these types of intelligences. However, they talk about how the only type of intelligence that you need to succeed as an entrepreneur is intrapersonal intelligence. This is not to be confused with interpersonal intelligence because intrapersonal intelligence is your ability to communicate with yourself, while interpersonal intelligence is your ability to communicate with others. Intrapersonal intelligence is about emotional control, self-reflection, willpower, discipline, and delayed gratification. He talks about how if you're drinking, watching TV, eating cupcakes, getting fat, it means that you have a low level of intrapersonal intelligence and discipline, and you need to fix that quality before you become an entrepreneur. So I think the points from both of these books are valid and they offer a unique perspective. What I did leave out though is that when I was reading the books, I felt like the books had a lot of ass kissing and self-flattery and flattery towards each other between Robert Kiyosaki and Donald Trump, which kind of made it really annoying to read in my personal opinion. But I do think that there are pieces of advice that everyone should know. Next up, we have the Donald Trump memoir, The Art of the Deal, which might be his most popular personal finance book. This one is the type of book that you would read if you're interested in the specifics of real estate development for Donald Trump and how he got started with his dad. It's not really the type of book where you take financial advice from. It's more just a Donald Trump specific autobiography. He starts by showing you an hour-by-hour breakdown of a week in his life, which I really didn't need to read, to be honest. Like, I learned that he drinks tomato juice for lunch instead of going out. Like, I really didn't need to know that, and I really don't care. He goes into great detail about his negotiations and building his various buildings, like Trump Tower or the Landmark, which is the Woolman Ice Rink, for example.
As Tracy Egan tells us now, he accomplished in 3.5 months what the city couldn't do in 6 years.
Mayor Koch and Donald Trump shook hands and came out complimenting each other for reopening Woolman Rink.
He also talks about how he deliberately constructs sensational stories in order to garner media attention. This is a guy who loves free press. However, his ghostwriter on this book, Tony Schwartz, says that he put lipstick on a pig, and if he were to do this book again, he would write this book and call it The Sociopath.
To this day, lying is second nature to him, just one more way to gain advantage. I wrestled with how to tell stories that I knew included inaccuracies.
The next book is called Trump Never Give Up. It's full of platitudes like never give up, failure is not permanent, trust your gut, adversity is a fact of life, do something for your community, etc., etc. If you ever read or seen this super popular book that is kind of a bestseller called The 48 Laws of Power, I would say that this book is Donald Trump's version of the 48 Laws of Power. He has 41 platitudes in this book, and he supports them all with business examples from his real life. If you like stuff like the 48 Laws of Power and Donald Trump, I think this book might be the book for you. It's more of a motivational book. If anything, it's not really a financial advice type of book. For me personally, I'm not very interested in these types of books like the 48 Laws of Power or this book, so it wasn't the book for me, but it might be the book for you if you like this type of stuff. Moving on to the last book ranked on my list, called Think Big and Kick Ass. I actually think that this book gave me a brain aneurysm, and I wish I could unread this book. It's just really awful, and I would give it a negative 100 stars out of 10 if I could. I don't really understand the positive Amazon reviews.
Huh?
You see, this book already didn't sound promising from the title, Think Big and Kick Ass. Why do I hate this book, you may ask? Because this book was just straight up ridiculous, and all Trump does is just insult people, and I didn't really learn any good financial information. So some of his main points are what I think are actually quite cliche, but you might think otherwise. He talks about how you need to have a passion for your work, you need to dream very big, and you need to think of very lofty goals, as indicated by the title, and you need to follow your instincts. But he also has some other main points, like he has a whole chapter on how you need to get a prenup. There are some pieces of advice that he makes that shed a lot of insight into his personality. For example, he has a whole chapter on revenge and how you need to take revenge on everyone who's ever wronged you. I'm not gonna lie, this chapter gave me the ick and I really hated it, and clearly other people hated it too. I felt the same way, honestly. Let me read you some quotes from this book. He writes, Mark Cuban has absolutely zero television persona or personality. He's got the look of a Neanderthal and he just doesn't get it. Also, this is him talking about Martha Stewart. You can pause this video here to read. Note the last sentence that says, my motto is always get even. When somebody screws you, screw them back in spades. He also has a huge section on him just insulting Rosie O'Donnell. He says in this chapter, she is an unattractive person both inside and out. Rosie is about as low as you can go. She is a bully who has been that way for a long time. Now I had a choice. I could attack back or I could let it pass. I chose to attack her so hard she would rue the day that she decided to attack me.
You'll rue this, Jay. You'll rue it!
I'm gonna insert some quotes here for you to read. Just pause this part and read this because these are actual segments from this book and they're just ridiculous. He talks about how he personally has taken revenge on others and how you should take revenge on other people too. Needless to say, this book did not give me good financial advice and I also suffered a lot while reading it. So in summary, I would say that after reading these 5 personal finance books, while the last book ranked on this list was genuinely horrible, I thought it was so bad, some of the top 2 books on this list, I think they did have some pieces of insightful information that you can apply to your personal life. Regarding this election this upcoming November, because I know this is a hot topic, I think it's important to note that all candidates have both good and bad sides, good and bad policies, good and bad character, which you can really see from this video and my past videos that I've made. So you should just choose what aligns with your values most, whether that is on policy or whether that is on character. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!